Hi, I'm Anna. I'm from Australia, and I'm starting a company. I wanted to learn from the best, so I flew to the USA to meet with successful entrepreneurs and learn from their stories.
We don't sleep when the sun goes down. We don't waste no precious time. All my friends in the loop, making up for teenage crime.
Tell me about Jackie. I want to know your story. Start from the beginning.
I was born in Santiago, Chile, and then at the age of 10, my parents decided to immigrate to Israel.
Oh, wow.
So actually, I was taken, as a very young girl to a complete different culture, complete different place. So it was quite an adjustment. I mean, most people will tell you how great it is. I can tell you that it was hard. So I grew up in Israel, and as everybody else, we go to the army. I know everybody, when they hear that I was in the army, oh my God, you went to the army. But in Israel is completely normal. We all go to the army. Maybe what was not, so normal is what I did in the army. So in the army, I was a drill sergeant. But I want to say that my army training also, prepared me. I also say to what I do currently, in real estate, because real estate in New York is almost going into the battle, every single day. Everybody says it's great, you show apartments, you show beautiful apartments. That's the least what we do. So in Israel, after the army, I went into the tourism industry since I spoke several languages. My job basically was traveling all around the world and trying to promote Israel as a leisure destination. Then came back to Spain, and they said, look, we want you to go and look at our operation in the US. When I came to New York, I was in a cultural shock. Because when you are outside of New York, you think all women and men are equal here, everybody,
Sure.
Everybody makes the same money. All the women are CEOs, and I came here and I found something completely different. Women were very conservative at that time. As far as if you were an executive, you had to dress almost like a man. And I came with my high heels, as you see me now. That was like my look also at that time. And I was
being you.
Exactly, and I was being much younger. So, I would go and give a speech somewhere, and they say, oh, Jackie, you can't go and speak to these executives, dressed like that. And I'm like, why not? And say, well, because you can't, this is America, you can't. I said, sorry, if you want me to speak to them, I'm not changing my clothes. This is what I'm wearing. And I started to walk around the city, and as you can see, everything is like high rise, tons of apartments. I'm like, somebody's making some money out of real estate in this city. So I was in the process of buying my own apartment. So I started to learn about real estate. Whoever tells you that you manage to balance, I don't believe them. You can never balance. Something is going to suffer. The question is, how do you handle it? From very early age, my children knew that I was a working mother, that maybe I was not going to be in every soccer game, that I was not going to be in every performance in school, but in the very, very important things, I was always, there for them. But then I got this big surprise. I was still in the travel industry. I was trying to transition to real estate, and I said, I don't know why, it was like somebody was telling me, a voice telling me, Jackie, don't quit the first job till you have a second job. So I went to interview with a lot of real estate firms. It was a very, only if you knew somebody who knew somebody.
Sure, you
had
to be connected.
Exactly, and I was not. So I started to interview with all these real estate firms, and everybody asked me the same question. They looked at my resume, spoke 4 languages, was a CEO of a large company, but who do you know in New York? Because New York, even though that we think it's very liberal, I mean, maybe now it's more than when I started, it was very like society-like. Okay. So they said, well, you didn't go to a private school here. You didn't go to college here. so who knows you here? And I'm like, I can't believe I cannot get a job in real estate in New York. I was like devastated. So I almost gave up. And then I got a phone call from a small company, a really small company. And they said, you know, we're willing to interview you. And that's how I started in real estate, in this minute, small company. So Barbara Corcoran was the owner of the CORCORAN group. And I went and listened to one of her speeches. And I asked a question. And at the end of the speech, I went to introduce myself. And she says, she looks at me and she says, excuse me, what's your name? And I'm like, Jackie. She says, and you're in real estate? Yes. And why aren't you working for me? And I'm like, I tried. I called, but they told me that you just hired a whole bunch of newbies and you don't have space. We're going to rectify that. Following day, I get a phone call from her sales manager, says, well, you know, Barbara Congress just told me that I have to interview you, so you need to come for an interview. So I went there, they hired me, and I became one of the top 25 brokers there immediately. And then I was a pioneer in putting a team together. You had teams in commercial real estate, but not in residential real estate. Most of the residential brokers, it was like the one-man show or one-woman show with like one assistant, what they call a shower, somebody who will show property for you, and that was it. And I said, well, if I want to develop myself and I want to grow my business, how am I going to do this with a one-woman show? It's impossible. And I loved Barbara Corcoran because until today we are very good friends, because she is all about thinking outside the box. So I came to her and I said, look, I have this idea. You know, what do you think? And she said, I love it. So I said, okay. So I said, I need a shortcut. I'm not willing to wait 15 years to become a top broker. So how do I do that? And Barbara says, well, who knows you? I'm like, nobody. She said, okay, we have to, you know, work on that. She said, what about PR? And I'm like, PR? What do you mean PR? PR is for celebrities. It's for Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, not for Jackie Teplitzky. And she said, well, you know, but you want a shortcut. So I hired a PR agency. And all my peers around me said, who do you think you are?
Oh, no.
Okay, hiring a PR agency when you are a nobody, in investing all this money in PR. And I said, well, I mean, I believe in that. Most people have this problem. They hire people like themselves. I did not want to hire somebody like me. Okay, I wanted to hire people that are completely different than me and can complement me. I realized that one of my biggest problems is that I have a short fuse and I have no patience. Mm-hmm. Okay, and you know, so I said, okay, I have to hire somebody who has a lot of patience, who has a great smile, who can, in the morning when she takes a buyer out, says, oh, you look beautiful. How are your children? How's your husband? How's your mom? That's not me. You know, me, you give me data. You know, you say, I'm debating between 3 apartments. Why should I buy this one over this one? I'll give you an analysis why, you know, what's the history and all that. But the small talk, no, not good. So I hire people, you know, that are different than me. Then the other thing that I did was very revolutionary at the time, was to start working with the international market. At that time, New York, the people that bought in New York were New Yorkers. And since I was from Chile, I started with Chile. So I started to travel to Chile and talk about real estate in New York. I'm like, real estate in New York? We're not buying there. That's a frightening city. You know, how am I going to buy there? Who is going to manage it for me? Who is going to, you know, I live so far away. And I said, well, I'll do it. You know, nobody will know your name, you know, and I'm going to do it, and I'll manage it for you. So I started with one person, and now I have many clients from Chile that buy here, and I manage the property on their behalf. And then, you know, the Chileans start to talk to the Argentinians. So suddenly I became, you know, an authority in Latin America about real estate. when you get to, my level, how do you go from here to here? You want to take more market share, but as you know, more and more people are coming into our business. Younger people, people with other skills. So the problem, I always say, it's not how to get up there, it's how to stay up there.
And how do you stay up there?
To be very current. So one of the things that I just did, you have the millennium, generation. Well, I'm not going to appeal to a millennium generation, so I just hired somebody fresh out of college that he's going to be my millennium generation. So the idea is that within my team, I have different people that can appeal to different audiences. The other thing is that we have people that speak multiple languages. So that's a great asset. It's not only about speaking the language, it's about understanding the culture, understanding how real estate is being sold in the different countries. So then when you get a client from Brazil, you know how to interact with them. One of the things that I am very concerned about is women. And the reason that I'm concerned about women is that because we have been talking about the same subjects forever. In the 90s, when I started in real estate, or even in the 80s when I started in tourism, we were still talking about equality of pay, being able to balance family and career, education, poverty, teenage pregnancy, and all that. So I'm thinking about how can I take what I learned and give it to other people and become, I don't know if it's a mentor, if that's the right word. And the other part will be my Latin heritage. How do we bring the Hispanic population, Hispanic women, to believe in themselves, to educate themselves, and to arrive to high places.
So Jackie, how much real estate have you sold in your career?
Oh my God. The last time we counted, I think we surpassed already the $1 billion mark.
So you're a very incredibly inspiring woman. Is there any advice that you'd give to other women out there to have an amazing, successful career like you and to balance family?
Mm-hmm. If somebody tells you that you cannot do that, don't believe in it. I am a person that I tell everybody in my team and in my life that the word no doesn't exist in my vocabulary, that the word I cannot do it, it cannot be done, doesn't exist in my vocabulary. That if you look around you, the people that have been very successful in life, in career, are actually the crazy people. And if you are not willing to accept failure, then you cannot be in business. You also have to be very truthful of yourself. Don't build a persona that is not you, because then everybody's going to read through you. In this world of social media, and creating, you create a perception, and then when you see the person, the perception that you had about that person, if it's not true, you notice that immediately. A lot of people think that we suddenly, are where we are in our careers because somebody helped us, because somebody gave us something. There are no shortcuts in anything. You have to work hard. Don't get stuck in something that you don't love and passionate about just because it gives you a paycheck.